So this is about Kafka. Spent a lot of time. So, hmm, so Zookeeper, Kafka cannot work without Zookeeper, and it maintains all offset and last consuming message related informations and information related to brokers, available brokers. Everything is in Kafka. Let's see how it works and other stuffs. Kafka, one single server of Kafka is called as broker, and Kafka always works in cluster, and each cluster have a controller. So the controller is responsible for some administrative operations, like assigning partitions to broker, monitoring broker failure, and selecting partition leader. This is Kafka cluster, replication of cluster. Each topic is divided into a number of partitions, and the partitions can lie on different brokers. We have partitioning strategy, etc., which we'll see. Those will make sure the reliability of system is improved. So we can set the retention period. The durability of a message is based on this replication and the retention. So I think you can decide whether you want to keep it for some hours or how many hours or up to which bytes. So there are many configurations. Like Kafka is so transparent that it explicitly let you configure so many things. So individual topic can be configured without retention. Retention policy at a broker level also can be done. At topic levels also can be done. So Kafka has something called mirror maker, which is used in disaster recovery. So if your log files are there, when starting in configuration, you will give log directory where your actual files. It's not error log. Your log file is stored. So if you give that location, this mirror maker can read the files and just create another cluster with same information, another broker with same information in different data center wherever you want. Multiple producer can produce messages to same topic simultaneously. So why Kafka is reliable, but that depends on your settings. And Kafka is very fast because it does something called zero copy policy, where actually first thing is it writes messages to log file. It's a sequential write, so it's really fast, and it has something called zero copy policy. If it wants to send the messages to the replica, actually it is not sending, the replicas are pulling. So the data transfer is so it's not like Kafka broker is reading the message from OS, from the file saving OS, and then pushing the message to socket so that it can be transferred. So it is something like the application layer is skipped here. So from the OS directly, the messages are sent to sockets, sent to the other brokers via socket. So you need to have Zookeeper for Kafka. Zookeeper maintains all partition, offset related information, consumer metadata, like what is the last committed offset of this consumer group, and how many brokers we have, and is this broker alive or not. So how it Zookeeper has that information is so as soon as a broker comes up, it tries to it tries to become a master. Basically, it create a ephemeral node in under controller. So the first one creates this access a controller. And as I said, controller does some administrative tasks like coordinating the partition, rebalancing, and if something goes down, some partition goes down, how to coordinate with other brokers to replicate to make the partition available, the partition leaders. If the partition leader goes down, so the coordinator will decide which the replica to make partition leader, and to propagate out the message to the other replicas which are dependent on this partition. So all those things are taken care by this control. So broker ID is something which is very important. It's integer. So let's say your broker goes down. If you bring up another instance with same broker ID, it will serve like the previous broker. It's as good as your broker is up now. So Zookeeper Connect is the Zookeeper hostname and this is the most important directory, like all the replicas are saved as file inside this directory, so that actually all the messages are written here. So your throughput is directly dependent on the number of partitions you have, because let's say you want to increase your throughput, like you can spin up an consumer instance. You can bring up an instance so that if you have adequate number of partitions, the consumer, when you add the consumer, will read the message from different partition. So like it's your partition is always directly proportional to your throughput, because partitioning is nothing but parallelism, like parallelly reading and reading basically. We are concerned about reading. So how will you decide on number of partitions you need for your application? Let's say, like, see, the throughput of a topic may be different, like maybe more. Let's say I have a producer which produces 100 messages, like I'm explaining in terms of message, 100 messages per second. Okay, my producer is able to write 100 messages per second, but my consumer is able to consume only 50 messages. This is because consumers are heavy. Mostly it will be involving another DB activity or something, like it has to consume, process and save it somewhere. So consumers will be always slow. So how will you decide, like, see, your target is you want 1,000 messages to be read per second. So how will you decide your partitions? So I will go like irrespective of the producer throughput, my consumer can process only 50 messages per second. So it's like 1,000 messages I want 1,000 messages to be processed. So 1,000 by 50, I need 20 partitions. And how many consumers? So if I have 10 consumers and 20 partitions, consumer is again like 50 message I can read from 20 partition, which is like, okay, how did I come? No, actually I need 20 consumers, because 20 partitions I have and one consumer can read 50. So which means if I have 20 consumers, I can read 1,000 messages. But let's say I want to start with 500. Like whenever you are deciding about partition, always think about future. In future, what throughput you want, that needs to be taken into consideration. Let's say today I want to read 500 messages, so I will spin up only 10 consumers. When my load increases, I will bring up more instances. But deciding on partition is very important. You have to think about your throughput and then decide on partition. So why can't we have as many number of partitions I want? Like Kafka supports some 2 lakh partition, something like that. So why can't I have some 1,000 partitions? So what are the disadvantages? More number of partitions meaning more number of log files we have. Okay, so actually even for this log file, it's not like 1 lakh file per partition. We have something called log file size. They call it a segment again. So each segment we write it in a separate file. So we have to have so many file handles. It's overhead. Then it's overhead for Kafka to maintain partitions, because if something goes down, like one broker goes down, it has to do remapping, etc. every time. So that is one thing. And what they are saying is it can bring up your broker activities can become slow, because the background threads, mostly we will be having only one background thread to do this replica between the brokers, like syncing the replica between the brokers. So they are saying if there are more number of partitions, if there is one broker which have replicas between which has a replica of 2 partitions. For all partition that shares a replica between 2 brokers, only one thread is doing the syncing job. So which means the partition that shares replica between, okay, it's essentially, say I have 2 replicas from one system, like this is my leader, partition leader. From here to syncing to other replicas, only one job is running. It can have, this broker can have multiple partitions, and for syncing, like actually this will call actually. For pulling, for pulling it asks for fetch. So for responding, it might take time, it might slow down, is what they are saying. So from producer perspective, more partition meaning more producer buffer. Each producer has a buffer as per partition. This is in memory. So if you have so many partitions, like your producer may need more memory. So this log retention is something which says for how much time you want to keep the message. This is what it can be in minutes, hours, like it can be in time or maximum number of bytes I want to read. This says what could be the maximum size of size of a message my topic can accept. Our producers something like this works something like this. So a producer record has topic, and like producer record is an object which possesses information about topic, like for which topic I have to put this value. So these two are mandatory, partition and key are non-mandatory fields. So it is possible, it is allowed that so it is possible that you have you can mention a partition, like if you are like very sure this has to go to the partition, you can mention the partition in which you want to put this message. And of course there is a key. Key is optional. If you give a key, by default the partitioner, the one which is here, it has a hash function running. It hashes your key and sends the message to that partition. So like it is something you give the producer record, like producer dot send. When you call it first, like there is a send. When you call this, it first gives that to serializer. So you can define your own serializer, custom serializer. You have the option. You actually consumer needs to know the serializer, deserializer also. So let's say we are going with the byte array. So the serializer, then the partitioner define which partition to put. Then like we are writing in batches. Like the producer will have will have the message in batches. Once the batch max limit is reached or like time elapsed, so it will actually give that message to it will actually send the message to the broker. So the broker now will it is based on a number of insync replicas you have. So if you have let's say three insync replicas, so the broker leader will first commit, then it will send it to the replicas. Like the replicas will fetch actually. It will wait for that replicas to fetch, so that if you think this producer timeout must be greater than the replicas fetching timeout, insync replicas fetching timeout. So like it will fetch, then it will commit. When the message is committed and all your insync replicas, the acknowledgement is written. So producer has something called ACK, which is configurable. So that says like what kind of acknowledgement you want. Like it decides how many replicas you want this message to be written. Okay, so when the message is successful, it returns a metadata which contains the topic name, partition name, and the offset. Let's say your like your producer has not completed batching, and you have like it's still batching, and the producer goes down, so the message is lost. That is something which has to be handled at application level. So Kafka producer accepts these values, it expects these configuration servers, then serializer. It's like by default you can give byte array serializer or string serializer, value serializer, key serializer, value serializer. Actually key is string, value is byte array. So yeah, this they call as synchronous send. Let me show the producer. So this is something which I got from GitHub. So this is our producer. Here is saying producer creator dot create producer. It is Apache common Apache log, that one. So this code I found from GitHub. So what they are doing is they are putting all the properties needed. Here if you see client ID, Kafka brokers, then key serializer, value serializer, do Kafka producer. So this will give you the producer instance. If you see the producer, so you produce something called producer record. It contains these details: topic, partition, headers. It's key value per thing, and then key value. The key here is partitioning, not partitioning key. It's a key. If you have the key, your partition will be decided as key. Then value, the timestamp. So here you are creating the record. See, I'm sending here producer dot send of record. So this returns me a future. I was thinking it's async, but it's kind of sync though, because this git is blocking. I'm waiting for the response from my broker life. I'm waiting for my response to get my offset. So this is what we use in our project as well. We have something called async cell, which is truly async because we don't wait. We just give the callback. If something happens, like the callback is called. So I was executing this, like I just got a doubt that if I had something like this callback, my thread just prints everything, and on complete it calls a callback. I just got a doubt whether my main thread will be waiting for this thread to finish or not. I just got the doubt. Actually, the program is still executing. My main thread will exit, but that thread is still running. If I give join, it will wait for that to finish. That's the difference. And let's say you are going for completely asynchronous send, and the message fails. It will not be retried because let's say your offset 2000 failed, but now your offset 3000 is successful. I think I was wrong. That was about consumers. So if something fails, it's up to the producer to retry. But I'm just confused. Like, let's say from the producer perspective, I have written some message which is of offset 2000, and during batching, I waited till 2005. Let's say my 2000 has failed. Actually, no. If the write is failing, we are writing as batches. The entire batch should fail. So that is something which has to be taken care by producer. Kafka has two types of messages. One is retriable and not retriable. So for retriable errors, Kafka tries sending the message away. For not retriable, that is something the producer have to handle, application have to handle. But I'm just confused. Still understand how failures are handled. So this act parameter is something which producer can configure. By default, it's all I think. So it allows three values. The act is 0, which means it does not read for any acknowledgement. As soon as it pushes the message to broker, it doesn't care. Then, obviously the throughput is very high, but message can be lost. And acknowledgement is 1. When the leader responds, it's fine. If the replicas does the replica received or not, doesn't matter. So if leader goes down, the message is lost. And we have like all, which in all sync replicas it will be replicated. Though we ensure that we replicate it to all the syncs, but we do not ensure the file write. We don't wait for the file write to happen. We leave it to OS. So buffer memory is something which we taught. So each producer will have a buffer for each partition where it batches the messages and sends compression type. It can compress. Producer can compress. We accept some decent compression types. Yeah, retries. We have an option of retry. But the point is with retry, we can end up in pushing duplicate messages. So it's better that always duplicate messages handled by the application. Like that's what I prefer. So the batch size is something which the producer buffer size. So yeah. So if batch size is something which it will batch till it gets to that size and then sends it to broker. So it is something like say if there are no messages being written and I want to push it to Kafka broker, I'll be waiting for batch size to be filled. Let's say my batch size is not filled for so much time. I need not be waiting. Like this is the one settings which will tell about that. So if my setting is this time elapses, I send it to broker. Client ID is to identify the client. It is optional. It's not mandatory like that. So this controls how many messages producer likes, max in-flight request per connection. How many how many messages producer will send to server without receiving response. We have other stuffs as well. Yeah, Kafka provides ordering of messages within partition. The one problem with retries is it can reverse the order. That is the problem with retries. So usually retry is something which has to be taken care by the application layers. I feel so. Yeah, Kafka will have a hash map function which hashes the key. This means that yeah, if you are using key, it is guaranteed that same key are directed to same partition. So let's say you are adding some partition or removing some partition, then it affects the hashing function. So I don't think the hashing is done because that doesn't make any sense. So let's say you know to which partition my keys are mapping, and if you are telling your custom consumers to read only from that partition, and changing your cluster setup might affect the expected outcome. So what we saw is one of the partitioning strategy. So we can provide our own custom partitioning strategy, which we have three partitioning strategy. This you have to implement the partitioning assigner. So let's say that round robin fashion I have two clusters, C0 and C1, and two topics, which three partitioning each. So if I go for round robin, I will say topic 0 partition 0, topic 0 partition 1. So I will assign like this way. So I think we have to go to consumer also. I will just go through this partitioning strategy. Assigning a partition to consumer is assigning a partition to consumer is like the consumer is taking the ownership of a partition within the consumer group. So sorry, this is different. Partitioning assigning. So default partitioning is something which works based on that hash, and it hashes your key and then takes the bucket size and decides the partition based on that, into which partition your message should go inside. So by implementing this partitioner, you can have your own partitioning strategy. I'm just getting confused between this partitioning assigner and this. I think that partitioning assigner is it's based on consumer, how to partitioning assigner is which partition the consumer can take ownership of. It's that strategy. So this is nothing but partitioner. If given a key, how to decide to which partition this key should go. You can come up with your own things. So when it comes to consumer has something called consumer and consumer group. So number of consumers. So when you have multiple consumers within a consumer group, those are all for reading the same, reading messages from the same topic. So it will if two consumers belonging to two different consumer groups can get that. If they belong to one consumer group, then only one get the topic. So Zookeeper will maintain the consumer commit offset for that consumer group. Having more than having consumer more than partitioning number is useless, because it's mapped something like this. So when you have less number of consumer, it will be reading from more than one partition. So if you have more number of consumers, some of the consumers is going to be idle. So it's recommended that you have the consumers less than or equal to partition size. So adding more consumers will increase the throughput, provided we have that many number of partitions. So that is something which we have to keep in mind. So consumer groups and partition rebalancing is one big topic. What happens if some consumer goes down or some partition goes down? So how will we reassign? So when the consumer comes up, it gets it is assigned some value in partition. Let's see about Kafka consumers. So I think I talked about consumer and consumer groups. If some consumer joins the group or leaves the group, reassignment happens. So we have two things to understand which are very similar. One is consumer group coordinator. This is one of the brokers which acts as a consumer group coordinator. Each consumer group will have a coordinator, and we have another thing called as a group leader. Group leader is nothing but a consumer. So when the consumer joins the group first, becomes leader. So what this group coordinator does is it receives the heartbeats from the consumers, and if it finds something is dead, some consumer is dead, or something is joined, it will trigger the rebalance. So the rebalance trigger is delegated to the group leader. So group leader fetches the list of all consumers from the group coordinator, and the group coordinator gives the list of all available consumers. Then the group leader decides which partition to assign to which consumer, so that the consumer can start reading. So that is done by partition assigner. You can have different strategy for assigning these partitions to consumers. So after assigning this consumer the leader sends these details to group coordinator, and the group coordinator tells the consumer that this is the partition which you have to be reading from. So this is the partitioning assigner. So we have three strategies. One is round robin. If you take round robin, say we have two consumers and two topics each having three partitions. So it is something like first year, second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, something like that. It's like that. This is the round robin. So assigning a partition to consumer is like giving ownership. That partition will be consumed by this consumer within the consumer group. So we have something called range assigner. So it's nothing but number of partitions per topic by number of consumers. So we divide it. It's 1, 3. Let's say 3 is it's 1, and then remainder. So one of the consumers will have extra. So it's something like one of the consumers will have some extra. One consumer will be consuming so it is something like let's say we have C0 and C1. C0 will be we have three partition, two consumer. So one partition is T0 P0 here, P0 P1 here. Then one will be having one extra one. So T0 P1. And then if you take another one, T1 P1, T1, so T1 P0, T1 P1. Okay, so this consumer is kind of overlaid. It goes up. Then we have something called sticky assigner. So this guarantee two things. This guarantees equal distribution, just like round robin. And then it says the customer is sticking to guarantees that the customer which was assigned to before rebalancing, whatever topic it was assigned to, after rebalancing I will try to stick it there. So it says minimal reshuffling. So one this is like fair enough. So let's say the sticky assignment. This is the first one. First initially we have something like this. So initial assignment is similar to round robin. Let's say C1 is crashed. Then we have something like this. So with round robin, what we will do is C1 is crashed. So we will just take 0, 1, 0, 1. Like this is topic 1, 0, 1 like that. So in sticky assignment, what we will do is we'll first whatever was here, we'll first put all those here. Whatever is here, we put all those here. Then we'll take this. This is like now a consumer class. So we'll try to assign it accordingly. So it preserves, like it reduces some extra work and rebalancing. I mean, rebalancing is something like stop the world effect. So consumer stops for a while. It cannot really consume messages. So it is a bit more efficient. So how consumer reads? So consumer should subscribe to a topic. This is our consumer client. Consumer.create consumer. Just like Kafka producer, we created a Kafka consumers with list of configs. So this is something which I tried. Then we subscribe to list of topic. And topic means like the Kafka accept regular expressions. So like test dot star, it subscribes to all the things which is starting with test. So if new topic name is added, then rebalancing happens within the same consumer group, of course. So this is the consumer code, which it is from GitHub. I didn't write it. So consumer.poll. This is something which is actually polling the, like consumer is polling for the record, like it's a fetch. So it returns the consumer record, which are key value partition and offset. Okay. So after reading that, we have to commit explicitly. This can be commit async or sync. Sync ensures that returns that what is the offset we are committing to. Like if you give commit sync, it will commit the last offset which is fetched. And commit async, I mean if something fails, commit sync is retryable and commit async is not, because let's say this is the example which I was referring to before. Let's say I have my commit for record 2000 failed, but now I have committed 3000, then there is no point in overriding it. It will cause issue. Actually overriding will cause issue. So like we are thinking like, okay, the things which are the commits which are going to happen after is going to take care of the missed commits. So this is what we subscribe first, then we keep polling, then after reading we actually commit the message. Actually if we see if this is true, like it's infinite loop. So if whenever something happens, we can have a listener with callback method, like, to exit it properly. So we close the consumer here. So consumer must be polling, and yeah, we have consumer have to send heartbeat messages also to the coordinator. Something about thread safety, which says you cannot have multiple threads safely using same consumer. Actually, a multiple thread can use same producer, that is thread safe. But here he is saying one consumer per thread, and they are asking us to use executor service. So this is some configuration. Fetch min bytes. It fetches number of bytes. Like it will wait till that much bytes accumulated, then it will come like. Let me show that. Okay. I don't know where it is. It's like you give a fetch call, give a fetch call, and there is not much to return. So let it wait, accumulate, then let it return back when it receives that many bytes. Something like that. Then this is session timeout. Like this is the maximum timeout, which even say for some reason it's not sending the heartbeat. Like if there is no response till the time reached, then it is considered to be dead. How long a message can go with it? Whereas the session timeout controls how long a consumer can go without sending a heartbeat. Auto offset reset. So yeah, like say some consumer join to a partition which doesn't have any offset or like committed offset count in Zookeeper for it, like, because it's very new. So from where to start reading? The default is latest. Default is latest. So read the latest one. That will be the reader. The earliest may produce you so many duplicates. Yeah. So enable auto commit. This should be false because you can't commit as soon as you get it. So yeah, this is the partitioning strategy which we say as range, round robin, and sticky. So client ID is something which is optional. Then commits and offset. So offset is something like consumer can ask, tell that I want record from this offset also. Give me the record. Start giving me the records from this offset as well. Consumer can tell that. So offset and commit is something which guarantee use that, like which you should be very careful, like for not reading a message twice. Duplicates are it's okay, at least duplicate our application should have it, but not missing a message. So it's something like if the consumer is okay. How does a consumer commit an offset? It produces a message to Kafka special queue consumer offset topic. So it puts the latest commit to that. This is something which you have to read. Like I was thinking it stores in Zookeeper, but yeah, it's storing here. So yeah, so this is the last committed offset, and commit sync will commit the latest offset which is read by that code. Commit async will not read it, but it provides this callback mechanism to log the error at least. So this is combining asynchronous and sync. So they are committing async. If something happened, like this is like they are thinking that everything is fine, like we are committing each tone, not record, that's fine. So they are thinking that okay, everything is fine, like let's say this system is not done, it's like we are like shutting down, proper shutdown. So before closing it, I'm saying that wait, let me commit whatever I'm processing, then let me come back. See if consumer goes down, then like maybe you are processing something and your acknowledgement is not sent. You processed but it is not sent. Then you reprocess it that because your offset is committed offset is before. All these are like expected. So dealing with duplicates is something I think the application level must be handling. Even though we read something like for each partition, each producer will have something really like that. Somebody is tackling this. I think it's something application level should take care. So Kafka gives you the option of having rebalance design. Maybe you want to do something before when rebalancing happens. So you can actually listen to, like you can actually implement that listener, then do whatever you want there. Yeah, we were having that infinite loop. How do we exit is what he is saying. So consumer would wake up somebody who to call. That is like a callback function. So we can have a shutdown hook which will call us. Remember, we do something like this. I mean, this gets called only when it is sick term, like kill, not kill, forcefully kill. So I don't know if system crashes. I think it is forceful kill. Maybe because it's crashing. It's stopping. Maybe we can check that. So yeah, I searched about it. It looks when Linux shuts down, it sends sick term. Good for us. I don't know. Maybe I will recheck on it. So it's about Kafka internals. Yeah. So Kafka has something called controller. It's like a leader which takes care of electing partitioning leader. Yeah, the controller creates ephemeral node under controller so that other brokers which comes in phase 2 create a node adds a watcher there. So whenever the controller goes down, the other nodes are notified, and the one which is creating again the controller node first becomes the controller. Then controller, as soon as it becomes a controller, it propagates the controller epoch. The brokers knows from which controller to accept the comments. It goes over all partition needs when the controller notices the cluster left like crashed or left the when some broker left the cluster. So it goes over all the partitions which belongs to that and elects the new leader if needed, and sends this new leader information to whomever, like the replicas which will be depending on this leader. Yeah, so the leader is the one who's going to serve both read and write. Yeah, when the controller rejoins, it will rejoin us. Let's say when the controller goes down, and when it rejoins as one of the brokers. Because let's say if it is trying to act as a controller also, the epoch number will prevent other things from accepting this request if it sends any. So replication is the part of Kafka, because we differ distributed, partition, replicated, commit log service. Messaging for this one. So replication is something which is very important. So replica we call like the partition which is leader was called as leader replica. Then it can have many other replicas also. It's up to the user to come up with a number of replicas. It's recommended you have 3 or 5. Yeah. And the replica sends a fetch request exactly the same type of request which customers send in order to consume a message. Okay. Imagine, just sends a fetch. It's a responsibility of remember, it's a responsibility of the replica to give the messages, to send the messages. So the first request contains the offset of the message. So consumer each replica knows what is its last committed offset, and it sends a first message having the offset, then it waits to get it. So one thing is the order is maintained within the partition, which is guaranteed. Replica will request message 1, message 2 and message 3, then it will not request message 4 before it gets all the previous messages. This means that leader can know that replica got all messages up to 3 and the replica request for messages 4. Okay. I mean, it's not like it's sending explicit acknowledgement. When it asks for the next message, they think, okay, we got all the. By looking at the last offset requested by each replica, leader can tell how far they have in the replica. If the replica isn't requested more than 10 seconds, yeah, this is configurable. message replica is out of sync. Replica fails. It is not producing. So, okay. So what they are trying to say is the replica is not sending explicit acknowledgement. Sorry, explicit acknowledgement. So when it tries to get like whenever it sends a fetch request, it sends the offset also. So if it is asking for the offset 5, they are assuming okay till 4 it committed. So like there is a time to which replicas can be not in sync. That's a time, configurable time. So before that, if it is not getting, then this is out of sync. So we have something called in-sync replicas also. See, replica lag time. Okay, so in-sync replicas, which is like only the in-sync. Yeah, like this like before acknowledging the producer that it is written, we have to make sure that all these in-sync replicas got the messages at least. So in addition to the current leader, preferred leader, we call something called preferred leader, which is old leader, which went down, now it is up. If it is in sync, the auto leader rebalance is true, it will become leader, because while assigning the broker, like while making this as a leader, that the number of leaders in a broker, like each broker handling leader does some additional job, so that would be more, and that would be balanced. So in order to maintain that balance, Kafka prefers that leader to be leader when it is in sync. It's leader because it's balanced between brokers. So it actually Kafka uses some binary protocol to communicate, which build on top of TCP to communicate between clients and replicas also. It uses socket, I think. Yeah. So Kafka clients are responsible for sending producer fetch request that contains a leader. Like it is client which makes a call to leader. So how will the client knows the leader? Then it first fetches the metadata. First it gets a metadata request. Metadata request can be served by any broker. So it gives a metadata detail. Then the client should be intelligent enough to take the leader of that consumer group. Then ask it for the data to consume. Sorry, leader of the partition, not consumer group. Whenever I am consuming, I know from which partition I want to consume. I am the consumer. As soon as I assign, I am owning a partition, I am concerned about the partition. Can the consumer read from a partition? No, right? One consumer can read from multiple partitions, but the reverse is not possible. So, is there a chance that more than one consumer getting a message will be possible, irrespective of consumer group or not? Oh, wait. Yeah. If I belong to same consumer group only, I cannot consume from same message. Let's say I am two different clients. Like I have a consumer group, like I don't have a consumer group. I don't want to mention there is something default created, I feel. So then in that case, I can consume, no problem. Yeah. So the client usually caches this metadata details. If it gets an error like partition not available, leader not available, it refreshes the metadata call. Then again retrace. Kafka is faster because it uses the zero copy method, because like it saves it in disk, right? So from there it just says that OS send this file to socket, like mostly. So OS is taking care of sending this. Like it's not like application or Kafka application is reading the file, then converting it to form and sending. So it's very faster. Zero copy method makes it faster. This is possible. This is what I was searching before. So consumer gives the fetch request. waits for enough message to be accumulated, then getting back is fine. Partition, the replicas should be spread across brokers, and you can even make sure at rack level information also, but I'm not going into that. It's not complicated. Producer can compress the data on side also. It's possible. When a replica loses its connection to Zookeeper, when it connects to Zookeeper again, it catches the most recent message written to leader. This is about replica, not about consumer. There are a lot of confusing things here. The replica will have its own offset, so it will check for its metadata also if it is coming up. Okay, then it can just poll the leader, the controller to give it. Okay, it stores metadata in Zookeeper also. See, if you don't have minimum in-sync replicas, it's up to you to decide whether to proceed or to go down. If you think my system being down is fine, I'll stop my operations, then tell that I need in-sync replicas and say not. So this is the minimum in-sync replicas. We have this configuration on broker level as well. So it depends on ACK. You select ACK on it should. Then there is something called enable unclean election or something. Let's say you are having minimum in-sync replicas is 3. But unfortunately, the servers are down and you have only 2 replicas now. Now you have to decide whether to go ahead and commit your messages or not. And if acknowledgement is not on, and you won't be able to commit it. If acknowledgement is 1 or 0, you can be. And let's say the leader goes down. The leader went down. Now, unfortunately, you don't have any other replica which is fully synced. So what will you do is the process will stop. The processing, the Kafka will stop. So let's say you want to proceed. You can enable that unclean leader election as true. Even though the Kafka knows that some message can be lost, it will choose that. It will choose that existing replica as a leader so that it can proceed with election.